All right, good morning, Doug. Been another eventful week in, well, at least on social media, what's happening. It's still very Charlie Kirk consumed, but there's other things happening. And what are the things that hit on your radar this week?
Oh, goodness. Miscellaneous things. There's been a defense pact that's been signed between Pakistan and Saudi Arabia because there was a big meeting in Doha. And of course, uh, Doha, we're talking Qatar. I've been there, uh, and it's changed tremendously in the 10 years since I've been there. I mean, office buildings and the rest of it grow like mushrooms in these places. The flow of money, but I mean, what is Qatar? It's just an emirate run by basically the emir is a dictator who has a gas field, and the biggest U.S. base in the Middle East is in Doha. So that's what it is. It's a U.S. military base guarding a big gas field of a Arab dictatorship. Anyway, all
But
the
didn't do such a good job guarding it though when Israeli jets came in.
no, that's kind of strange and suspicious, and there's been no apologies on the part of anybody, and yeah, and of course we don't know. I mean, the Israelis say, well, we have to cut off the head of the snake, and the snake's head was hiding in luxury in Qatar, so we had to take them out. But then the Arabs say, well, wait a minute. These were guys that were trying to negotiate an end to this thing. I don't know what the facts are. I mean,
Mm,
all we know is what these people say, and it's all lies. You can't believe any of this stuff.
mm.
So, anyway,
But
it
then,
should be none of our business, and there shouldn't be a giant U.S. base there. There's absolutely no reason for having a U.S. base there or in Bahrain, which is the naval base to the anyway.
so out
It,
of that though, just a week with it, less than a week after that, then you get this Pakistan Saudi Arabia deal.
oh yeah, well that's the important thing, I guess. It's that here we have Saudi Arabia, which is a cash flow machine, and they've signed a formal alliance with Pakistan, which is utterly corrupt, overpopulated, poor, and a country with nuclear weapons, who actually fought in the last several wars against Israel. So they're no friends of Israel. But so now Saudi Arabia is hooked up with Pakistan. So these alliances can only result in the kind of situation that you have had in World War One, where there's an alliance between Serbia and who the hell was it? Let's see, the Crown Prince of Austro-Hungary was killed, and who declared war on who? And then because it was an alliance, everybody else had to declare war on them. And before you know, everybody's in war because they all had what are called entangling alliances together. So
Mm.
it's the same type of thing that's going on in the Middle East right now. We have a formal alliance between these two powerful countries.
So
Uh,
would that mean if India and Pakistan have another spat, that Saudi's supposed to come to their defense?
well, question is, how can the Saudis do it?
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know, but if it's it's it can only be a problem. And kind of relating to that is that today is the 229th anniversary. Look at the exact numbers of George, because it was in 1796. George Washington published his letter to the American people at the end of his 8 year gig as the president. And in that letter, which is very famous, uh, he had a lot of advice as far as what should this young country, which was only 8 years old at that point, what should it do and not do? Well, Actually, that letter is worth going through in detail to compare what Washington, the founding father of the country, thought with where the country is today. But I'd put my finger, because we don't want to go through the whole letter at this point anyway, I don't think. Um, in his farewell letter, he calls for non-involvement in the affairs of foreign countries. And he says that the people who do, Americans who do get involved in the affairs of foreign countries are toadies and dupes. And in there, he emphasizes that the US should be friendly to everybody, but not too friendly, and definitely not allied to anybody. Uh, so, words of the wise, which has been completely forgotten. Another thing that he does mention in the letter, which is relevant, is that the country should have a balanced budget and gives a lot of reasons for that. And of course, now, I mean, the country's head over heels in debt. It's never going to be repaid. It's a catastrophe rating. So, if anybody read, and I think probably everybody should, maybe we should actually go over it paragraph by paragraph in the future. Washington observing shit, frankly. So, that kind of relates to Saudi Arabia and Pakistan idiotically getting into an entangling alliance. And we obviously have toadies and dupes, to quote Washington, that are drawing us into Israel's problems with Pakistan and Saudi Arabia and Egypt and every other country in the Muslim world, quite frankly. So none of our business, or should be none of our business. Anyway, so
Yeah,
that's all I want to say.
I'm gonna have to read this because I read it, in high school, but I haven't read it since then. But he's talking about the different departments of the government being virtuous, and
Yeah, forgot about that.
yeah, I feel like I'm gonna have to go back and read the whole thing. I know it's not that long, but
Well,
um,
should go back and read the Declaration of Independence because it's actually a good document. And if you read the Declaration of Independence, you say, wait a minute, what's going on here? We're doing the opposite of everything in the Declaration of Independence. It's actually perverse,
then you go to the Articles of Confederation, right?
right?
And
And
then you're like, and the Constitution is one step down from that, or a big step down from that.
yeah, and the only part of the Constitution that's observed today are technical details, like that the president can cast an extra vote in the Senate and the changing of the guard happens on this day and purely administrative technical details. That's the only part of the Constitution that's observed. The rest of it is a total dead letter, like for instance, all the Bill of Rights, which is the most important part of the Constitution. So
Exactly. Well, speaking of the Bill of Rights, what do you think about there's great risk of that being further violated because of the reaction with this stuff with Charlie Kirk. There was talk about certainly making Antifa a terrorist organization, not to say that they're not, but going after them that way, going after um, hate speech, which Pam Bondi went aggressively on, but has backtracked a little bit on that. But it seems like that whole situation, because of what happened to Charlie, it seems like it definitely could expand the state's efforts to kind of crack down, making against trans, and not that I'm on that side of it, but it's just like giving the state more power to go after American citizens and their
yeah,
supposed rights.
right. And these stupid Republicans don't realize, and we covered before, the reasons why they think it's important to do the things that they're doing. I understand that. But I don't think they're going to be in office come 2028. And then the shoe is going to be on the other foot. And in the meantime, they're going to have further augmented the power of the state. And nobody seems to recognize that it's not the Democrats per se that are our enemy. It's the institution of the state that's our enemy. So,
Yeah, I mean, you think about what Biden did, the way he aggressively went after the January 6th people, for instance. And now imagine with a whole new precedent set of and new internal policing powers and more grab and bag people on the streets for ICE. That's how they're deployed now. But and just imagine if you get somebody who's on the wrong side of things and how quickly that can be turned against you. I mean,
Yeah,
it's
it's
scary.
understandable that I think most Americans want to get illegal aliens, especially the wrong kind, starting with them out of
Yep.
the country. Okay, that's fine, but ICE has become a giant bureaucracy, and you're not going to disband it, just like the TSA is never going to be disbanded, likely, and they'll just be redeployed towards whatever's important at that time. And talking about what ICE is doing, it's that it is rather dangerous and shameful that they rounded up 300 Koreans at a Hyundai factory in Georgia. Now, if in fact they were illegal, but these were all respectable, law-abiding Koreans that were there on visas of some type, and they were put in chains and
Yep.
herded off like criminals with lots. I mean, this does not smell good. If it was a problem, they should have had a sheriff present them with papers and say, "Hey, you guys have to leave." Do this politely, but no, they acted in a very police state manner.
Yeah, and then they released the video about it too, which is really weird because you'd think that they would have realized, oh, we made an error here. Obviously, we arrested all these guys who actually are totally legal, but then they published the video of putting the guys in chains and loading these like engineers on a bus. Like it's
Yeah,
not a good look.
what happened to rounding up violent criminals? Instead, they picked 300 Koreans that are making Hyundai. I mean, it's who's in
And they're
charge?
totally illegal. They're totally illegal.
Yeah, who's the idiot that's in charge of that happening, among other things? So, well, and of course, Antifa. When we were talking earlier, you said you pointed out that you're not supposed to. What was what was it?
It's
You can't
yeah, it's
designate a domestic terrorist organization or whatever.
well, under current U.S. law, domestic movements are not supposed to be categorized as that under U.S. law. But they
Well,
can do things. They can do not terrorists, but the FBI can look like they labeled you know uh, Christian nationalists or whatever as a threat.
which
Like they can
which
do that.
actually they have, but they haven't rounded them up per se.
Right. So I think they can do that. But I mean, to declare a terrorist organization is a whole other legal threshold that not to say he won't do it, but it will end up in the courts.
Yeah. Anyway, further reason to believe that things are going to get very hairy in the next few years, especially when the markets melt down. I personally think that'll be the real catalyst for all this type of thing.
Well,
Uh,
but yeah, I think so too. Because if it happens if it is it you lead, that the markets crash, it's a clear sign that things are gone wrong, and everyone can see it objectively. There's a problem, even if you don't have money in it. But then it leads to job losses, big time, that come out of that,
Yep.
and then that affects everyone real fast. So yeah, I think you're right. I think that will be the catalyst, but that'll be too late at that point.
And didn't Marjorie Taylor Greene say kind of an unusual thing for a member of Congress to say that that these people, the red people and the blue people, don't belong in the same union together, or words to that effect?
I didn't hear that, but um, yeah, that's actually wouldn't surprise me. And I think that there's a growing feeling about and I think we talked about in our last podcast. I was quoting this guy, Balaji, who basically said that in the virtual world, they've already seceded from each other. They don't see the same news. They're not in the same, not even on the same social networks. I mean, they're separate already.
Yeah, and these two groups that really hate each other at this point are contending for the trillions of dollars of spending that Washington, D.C. allocates. They want it spent on their guys, not on the other guys. And they want to control the apparatus of the state, where the police and the military are oriented the way they want, not the way the other people want. So this can't last. The best thing that can happen to the US is to separate peaceably. I mean, it would be kind of messy to separate for lots of reasons, but the alternative is, I think, something like a civil war where they fight over who controls things instead of amicably or at least not violently separating.
Yeah, I think the way it's yeah, I don't know. I'm not sure how you could do it because geographically it's all mixed up. I mean, you look at like most of the map is red, and then it's just the cities that are blue,
Yeah.
you know? So it's like I don't know how you do it geographically.
I mean, for instance, to start with, the coastal areas of California could separate from the rest of California. That's a red and blue thing right there, just within a state. And the
That's
same with
true.
Oregon and Washington. I mean, these even the states that are termed red and blue are not cohesive within themselves as being red and blue anymore. It's a
No, what are they gonna do? Put like a wall separating, going down to California, separating the coastal area? I guess you have mountains, but
it's
I
a
mean,
dog it's a dog's breakfast. The only possible solution is for the government itself to go back to what it originally was in the Constitution, which is basically the government does nothing but defend people in the bailiwick from foreign invaders, allow adjudication of disputes with the court system, and have a police force to defend you from violent crime. That's it, nothing else. Then there's nothing to fight about. They can believe what they want or whatever, set up what organizations they want. The question is who controls the state? The state itself is the problem. So you've got to cut back the US government about 95% to solve the problem. That's the only solution, short of separation.
and the only way that's going to happen is after it collapses economically, because there's going to be no voluntary paring back of the state,
Yeah,
because everyone's so dependent on it now. I mean, most of the budget just goes for basic transfer payments at this point of the tax receipts.
yeah, yeah. And of course, if it comes down to that, the US dollar itself is a dead duck, which is going to have real consequences for everybody or everything that owns bonds and stocks and savings accounts. Oh, I mean, this is scary. Stephen King ought to write a novel about this.
I mean, he's kind of on the shit list these days, because he came out and said some bad things about Charlie Kirk right after
Oh, did
that,
he?
and he had to apologize because he has a movie coming out, so somebody talked him into going out and apologizing.
Oh, I didn't know that. But of course, Jimmy Kimmel is the person who lost his job. I listened to what Kimmel said. I'm not a fan of Kimmel, but uh, so what he said was unfriendly, but unfriendly, but lose his job over that? Well, apparently, it's not just the fact that his show, they say, was losing $60 million a year, which is a good enough reason to say he's got to go someplace else. You can't sustain a money loser like that. So that's a good reason to fire him. But apparently, the FCC was putting a lot of pressure under, who is it, NBC or ABC that does his show?
I think I think he's ABC.
Whichever one, they're all the same. So they were putting a lot of pressure because, of course, you can't broadcast or do anything on the airwaves unless you get approval from the FCC. Well, to me, this is just a good reason to abolish the FCC. It's none of their business. I mean, to decide what people say or don't say. And if ABC or CBS or whoever the hell it was fires Kimmel for whatever reason. It doesn't matter what the reason is. Losing money, management doesn't like what he's saying. Fine. Kimmel can go out. and start his own network or start doing stand up in front of his house and see who wants to listen. I mean,
Right,
this is all involvement of the state, everything. This is what
right.
everything's missing.
I feel like the firing him is it was like I can imagine the executives looking at it and go, okay, this is we can argue that this is a violation of our agreement and we can use it, we can cancel, we can cut the show now and save us because it's a big money loser for us, and then we can virtue signal properly to the state who's pressuring us, and also, to the audience who we've been losing, over the last several years. So yeah, I don't think that ABC or Disney or whoever it was who worked for exactly that they all of a sudden woke up and saw the light about goodness and badness and chose to do the right thing. I think it was a business decision.
No, these corporations never do the right thing. They're basically just whores run by managements that don't have any skin in the game as far as owning shares of the corporation or having entrepreneurially formed it, anything like that. It's
Yeah,
it's really out of control. Well, and they do like working hand in glove with the government, which helps to keep them in a position where they're power where they are now. We're starting a new listen, anybody ought to be able to start a new TV or broadcast network without any intervention or costs from the states. And Kimmel should do that. I mean, God bless him or God damn him. I don't really
either
care
way. Yeah,
either.
he could do a YouTube show, right? If he's
Yeah, he
so
should be able to do
if
it.
he's in
Yeah,
demand, yeah, yeah.
yeah,
So that's fine. But yeah, it's the ABC likes to keep the state happy, the state because they protect their. It's not a monopoly because there are four stations, right? I guess it's Fox, ABC, CBS, and NBC are the ones with the big FCC licenses. So they like. I mean, their business is made by the state.
yeah. Yeah, they wouldn't be the size that they are if it wasn't been for the barriers that the state puts up for new entrants. Anyway, I don't know what's going to happen with the Charlie thing. Seemed like a nice fellow, as far as I could tell. Although, frankly, I'm always suspicious of anyone, even if he's a nice fellow, intelligent, well-read, all of these things. I'm on Charlie's side on most things, as I can tell. But he was not a libertarian. He was a conservative who worked with the state and said things about, supporting the current Trump regime. Anyway, we'll see how this all sorts out. He's
Yeah, do
being
you think do you think Turning Point will thrive with his wife now taking over?
no, off camera we were talking about the fact that it's a male movement, turning point, generally speaking, young men, not young women who are much more liberal than young men. So that wasn't his audience. And and will the young men go for Charlie's wife to lead them the way? Probably not. And if she tries to turn Turning Point into something to influence young female college students, that's a
It's
tough
an
road.
uphill battle.
Yeah. So what's going to happen to Turning Point? Or is somebody going to move into and that's hard to figure too because of where the funding was coming from for there's a lot of things we need to find out about everything to do with its funding, to do with the assassination and so forth, because all we really know is what we're told on the media, which is
Right.
not
Which is that
good.
we talk about has there's a lot of holes. There's a lot of
Yeah,
holes.
a lot of holes. So whether they're uncovered or not, it's a good question. I mean, still there's still a lot of holes from the events of 9/11. But
What events from 911? What do you mean? What are you talking about? When
well,
those terrorists got us?
yeah, well, yeah, that's right. Like Building 7, for instance.
Mhm. Yeah, it's an interesting question.
There wasn't a
Yeah.
plane at Building 7, but why did it fall right in its own footprint, just like the other two buildings did, which is also kind of odd.
Yeah, yeah, and then the Pentagon, there's no wreckage of a plane outside of it, just a perfectly Tomahawk missile shaped hole.
Yeah. All we know is what we're showing. And then
Yeah.
we come up with conspiracy theories to try to
Yeah.
sort out.
Well, it's because just like in this case with Charlie Kirk, all the CCTV apparently, the high definition stuff that was on the Pentagon also, wasn't there to give us any camera footage of the airplane hitting it. So,
Yeah,
oops.
and where's the where's the bullet? That would tell us a lot if they
Well,
can
I think
actually find the the round that hit him.
I don't think that they're looking for it. I think they decided to pave over that area, you know, be- maybe create a memorial or something.
Yeah, uh, yeah. Who needs the round anyway? Anyway, all I know about this is what I've seen on CSI Las Vegas, and maybe they should call those actors in to do an investigation.
I think they should. Yeah, what's amazing to me is that they knew that, right away, one of the first pieces of news that came out was that it was a 30-06. That was one of the first details about that I heard that day when he was shot. And it's like, well, that's really interesting. How do you know that? And then of course, then they do find this rifle later, but I heard that it was a 30-06 before I saw, photos of that at least. So, but they didn't recover the round.
Yeah. Well, I wish that we were living in the world of the FBI, that TV program starring Ephraim Zimbalist Jr. In the early '60s, when the FBI were absolutely all straight arrows. They wouldn't think of even telling a little white fib. Forget about possibly covering up a major assassination. Well, Cash Patel's got it all in hand. And all I can hope is that Dan Bongino, to salvage what's left of his reputation after saying that nothing to see with the Epstein event, I hope he resigns in disgust.
Yep, I think it's running a little long on that though. It's a salvage reputation. Should have done it already,
Yeah. Well, nothing that a good PR campaign can't handle, I'm sure.
apparently. Apparently. All right. Well, yeah, we'll see what happens with the TPUSA thing. I think it's just going to basically die on the vine, would be my guess. I mean, who's going to be willing to donate $80 million to it now that Charlie was basically they trusted Charlie and 'cause he was really doing such the face of it. He was the out there on campus, creating the context for the debates and stuff. So I just don't see how I think it's just going to dry up and blow away, be my guess.
Yeah, and it's certainly stirred up a lot of suspicion about the involvement of Zionist factions or the Israelis and so forth. We'll see how that all sorts out.
It has, but people say that, but I just can't imagine if that's true. I can't imagine that the FBI wouldn't know it by now. You know what I mean?
Yeah, but that's like classified information. We're talking national security. So maybe they'll maybe they'll tell us in, well, 50 years, like the
70,
Kennedy.
70, I think.
Yeah, yeah, like the Kennedy assassination. Oh, we were supposed to already have. Oh well, forget about it. Nothing
Yeah,
to.
and I mean, we can go through the Epstein list. You talked about 9/11 already, the Las Vegas, whatever happened there with the shooting there. What about the drones over New Jersey, or what about oh, what was the other thing that Trump was going to get to the bottom of right away? Um, I already mentioned the Epstein list. Oh, I can't remember. But anyway, there's so many things we just won't know the answer to any of them. It's just we're expected to eat this giant shit sandwich they give us and be happy.
Yeah, and and if there's too much brouhaha over it, there'll be some other distraction, another assassination of some type or whatever.
Maybe a moon landing.
Well, that's right.
Just kidding.
But there's a good chance the next moon landing will be done by the Chinese, not by the US.
Yeah, I think so. I think so. All right. Well, Doug, We'll wrap it up here for today. Have a good weekend. We'll be back next week with more.
Fantastic.
All right. Thanks, Doug. Bye bye.